What if each sin was embodied not by hell's princes, but ancient mythical beasts? Creatures whose very existence is gluttony, envy, greed, pride, sloth, wrath, and lust. Some of these beasts were worshipped, some were feared, and some were never meant to be noticed at all. Tonight, we're not asking which sin is worst, we're asking which creature was born to represent it. Gluttony. Gluttony isn't just overeating, it's hunger that never ends. Consumption without purpose. Desire that devours everything, including the world itself. In demonology, gluttony is ruled by Beelzebub, a prince not of pleasure, but of rot. Excess that turns into decay. Appetite that becomes domination. And long before hell gave this sin a name, mythology already had its perfect form. In Aztec creation myth, that form is Cipactli. Cipactli was a primordial sea monster, part crocodile, part nightmare, whose existence was defined by hunger. It didn't eat to survive, it existed to consume. Its most terrifying trait was that every joint of its body contained a gaping, razor-toothed mouth. No matter where you stood, Cipactli was already eating. Its hunger was so absolute that it prevented creation itself. When the gods attempted to form the world, Cipactli devoured their work as fast as it was made. Reality couldn't exist because gluttony wouldn't allow it. To stop the monster, Tezcatlipoca used his own body as bait. Cipactli bit off his foot instantly, a sacrifice so severe that the god is forever depicted with an obsidian mirror or a stump in its place. Gluttony always takes more than it's given. But Cipactli didn't end there. After the gods finally tore the creature apart, they used its body to form the earth, sky, and underworld. And even then, the hunger remained. In Aztec belief, the earth itself still cries out for blood and sacrifice because it is made from a being that never learned how to stop consuming. Cipactli is gluttony at its purest form. Not a habit, not a choice, but a cosmic force. A hunger so endless that even death couldn't satisfy it. Greed, also called avarice, is not the desire to enjoy wealth, it is the need to possess it. Ruled by Mammon, the prince of hell whose name became synonymous with money itself, greed is the worship of ownership over purpose. In demonology, Mammon does not tempt with pleasure or excess, he tempts with attachment, the belief that value lies not in living, but in having. Across mythologies worldwide, one creature embodies this sin with terrifying clarity: the dragon. From Fafnir in Norse legend to Smaug in Tolkien's mythic tradition and countless horde-guarding worms in European folklore, dragons are defined not by fire or wings, but by what they refuse to release. They gather gold they never spend, jewels they never use, and wealth that serves no survival need. The hoard is not a resource, it is the dragon's identity. Dragons do not merely guard treasure, they become it. They coil their bodies around gold as if fusing flesh with fortune. They sleep atop it, bleed for it, and annihilate anyone who approaches, regardless of intent. Heroes, thieves, pilgrims, it doesn't matter. The rage is not fear, it is possession. In many legends, the loss of even a single coin is treated as a personal violation, triggering devastation far beyond reason. This is why the dragon is the perfect symbol of greed. It does not seek riches to improve its life. It seeks riches so no one else can touch them. The hoard is never enough, not because it lacks value, but because greed is defined by refusal. Like Mammon, the dragon does not consume, it clings. Because greed is not hunger, it is the inability to let go. But when ownership turns into identity, when what you have becomes who you are, greed evolves into something far more dangerous. Because the next sin doesn't cling to gold, it believes it deserves it. If you enjoyed this kind of video, consider leaving a like and subscribing. Now, on to the next sin. Pride is the first sin, and the one that makes all others possible. Ruled by Lucifer, the original prince of hell, pride is not hunger, rage, or desire. It is elevation of the self. Lucifer did not fall because he wanted more. He fell because he believed he was more brilliant, more deserving, too perfect to kneel. Pride is the sin that convinces itself it cannot be wrong. In Greek mythology, the Sphinx is pride given flesh. Unlike her Egyptian counterpart, who stands silent as a guardian, the Greek Sphinx actively judges. She places herself above the road to Thebes, literally elevated, forcing every traveler to face her riddle or die. Her authority does not come from law, strength, or divine command, but in intellect. She believes her mind alone grants her the right to decide who is worthy of life. This is pride at its most dangerous, intelligence mistaken for supremacy. The Sphinx does not learn, adapt, or doubt. She kills those who fail and calls it justice, reinforcing her belief that she stands above mortals. Her entire identity is built on one assumption, that no one can surpass her. There is no contingency for being challenged, no version of her world where she is wrong. When Oedipus answers the riddle correctly, nothing strikes her down, no weapon is raised. Her power simply vanishes. Exposed and unchallenged for the first time, the Sphinx throws herself from her perch to her death. Greek myth is unambiguous. The moment her superiority is disproven, she cannot exist. The Sphinx is pride incarnate, elevated, absolute, and brittle. Like Lucifer, her fall is not caused by an enemy, but by reality refusing to bend. Pride does not survive correction. It either reigns uncontested or collapses the instant it is questioned. And when pride finally loses the strength to prove itself, it doesn't fall into humility, it rots into stillness. Because once you believe you're already superior, effort feels unnecessary. And that decay has a name. Sloth, known in demonology as acedia, is not laziness. It is spiritual collapse, the refusal to care, to act, or to rise toward purpose. Ruled by Belphegor, prince of hell, this sin doesn't tempt with chaos or pleasure. It seduces with comfort, with delay, with the lie that effort no longer matters. In ancient sources, most notably Pliny the Elder's Natural History, the Catoblepus is described as a monstrous beast from Ethiopia. Heavy, bloated, bovine. Its most defining trait is not its size or strength, but its posture. The Catoblepus's head is so massive it can never lift it. Its neck is permanently bent. Its gaze is fixed downward, dragging its entire existence toward the ground. And that is where the horror begins. The Catoblepus does not hunt, it does not charge, it does not rage, yet its gaze is said to kill instantly. Later myths claim its breath is poisonous, but the truth is more unsettling. Death radiates from the creature simply because it exists in a complete inertia. Its destruction is not intentional, it is incidental. Life dies around it because it refuses to rise. This is why the Catoblepus embodies sloth perfectly. It is not evil through action, but through neglect. It does nothing, and the world suffers anyway. Like Belphegor's sin, sloth rots outward. It poisons without movement. It destroys without effort. Sloth isn't the absence of motion. It's the refusal to look up. And when apathy finally snaps, what erupts next isn't stillness, it's rage. Wrath is not anger. It is anger that has been caged and remembers why. Among the 7 deadly sins, wrath is ruled by Satan, the adversary, the embodiment of rebellion, defiance, and violent opposition to order itself. This sin does not seek pleasure, wealth, or praise. It seeks destruction. Wrath is anger that refuses restraint, refuses forgiveness, and waits only for the moment it can erupt. True wrath is born from betrayal, from injustice, from being bound when one was never meant to kneel. In Norse mythology, Fenrir is wrath given flesh. Born of Loki and the giantess Angrboda, Fenrir was foretold to bring about the fall of the gods. Terrified of this destiny, the Aesir did not destroy him, they imprisoned him. They raised him under watch, then deceived him into wearing Gleipnir, a magical chain forged from impossible things. When Fenrir sensed the trick, he demanded a pledge of trust. Tyr placed his hand in the wolf's jaws and lost it forever. From that moment, Fenrir's rage was sealed. He does not thrash, he does not scream, he waits. Bound beneath the earth, Fenrir's fury does not fade, it condenses. Every moment of restraint sharpens it. Every chain strengthens the hatred it contains. Wrath, when denied release, does not disappear. It becomes inevitable. At Ragnarok, the chains break. Fenrir's jaws stretch from earth to sky. He charges into the final battle and devours Odin himself, the All-Father, ending divine rule in a single act of cosmic violence. Wrath is not chaos without reason. It is consequence. Wrath delayed until it becomes unstoppable. Wrath is the sin that does not negotiate. It does not heal. It ends things. And when rage burns itself empty, what remains is not fury, but desire. Lust is not hunger. It is surrender. In Christian moral theology, lust is one of the 7 deadly sins, later associated in medieval demonology with Asmodeus, a figure tied to obsession, fixation, and desire without restraint. Lust is not simply physical craving. It is the moment reason steps aside and allows longing to take control. Discipline weakens, judgment blurs, choice becomes voluntary ruin. Unlike wrath or greed, lust rarely announces itself as danger, and that is exactly why it works. In Greek mythology, sirens were supernatural beings, often depicted as part woman and part bird, feared not for claws or fangs, but for their voices. In Homer's Odyssey, their song promises wisdom, fulfillment, and secret knowledge of the world. They do not lure with lies, they tempt with truths shaped into desire, making resistance feel like loss rather than survival. The siren does not chase her victims, she waits. Sailors are not dragged toward her shores, they turn their own ships, they abandon duty, caution, and even life itself, drawn by the belief that whatever waits ahead is worth the cost. This is lust in its purest form, not coercion, but consent, not force, but invitation. And when the song ends, the sea is already filled with bones. Across mythology, lust is almost never represented as a fully monstrous beast. It wears beauty, it speaks gently, it feels familiar. Sirens, like satyrs and other tempters, exist at the boundary between the civilized and the primal, where desire feels natural, justified, even deserved. That is what makes them dangerous. The siren is lust given a voice, and ruin follows only when that voice is obeyed. Also, if you know a non-humanoid mythical creature that represents lust as clearly as the others on this list, comment it below. I want to see what you uncover. Envy is the quietest of the 7 sins, and the most corrosive. Known in Latin as invidia, it is the sin of sight, the pain of seeing another's fortune, and the secret wish to see it diminished. Among the 7 princes of hell, envy is most often linked to Leviathan, the great serpent of the abyss, an embodiment of jealousy so deep it seeks to drag everything down into ruin. Envy doesn't explode like wrath. It watches, it compares, it waits. So when people imagine what envy looks like in myth, they expect mirrors, rivals, or seductive tempters, something human, something obvious. But the true symbol of envy in medieval mythology is something almost no one expects. It is not beautiful. It is not persuasive. It does not chase its victims. It kills simply by being seen. The creature is the basilisk. Known as the king of serpents, the basilisk was believed to be born from a cock's egg hatched by a toad or serpent, an origin viewed as unnatural, inverted, and corrupt. Yet its terror did not come from strength or speed. Its defining trait was its gaze. To meet the basilisk's eyes was instant death. Even its breath was said to poison the air, scorch the ground, and wither plants where it passed. This was no coincidence. The basilisk was a living embodiment of the evil eye, a belief inseparably tied to envy in Greek, Roman, and medieval thought. The word invidia literally means to look against or to look with malice. Envy was believed to harm through attention alone, damaging both the one who envies and the one who is envied. Like envy, the basilisk does not need to act. Its destruction begins the moment it looks. Because of this, medieval bestiaries used the basilisk as a direct allegory for envy. It does not consume its victims. It gains nothing from their death. It simply spoils what is healthy, beautiful, or flourishing. Everything it sees is reduced to ruin, not out of hunger, but resentment. In that way, the basilisk is envy perfected, a silent, poisonous force that destroys the world not through violence, but through sight alone.